Okay. Hey, it's Von the Guru. I'm here to do a 2023 revamp on the 12 Zodiacs, or the signs of astrology. So let's go ahead and get to it. I'm going to go ahead and just make it quick and short. This video is for anyone who is partially into astrology, or wanting to get into it, wanting to maybe know about their birth chart, how the signs correlate to them, and synastry purposes, their relationships, their kids, whatever. So this is basically a rundown on all the signs. So I'm gonna try to keep it brief, but I am going to tell you everything you need to know, everything there is to know as far as the knowledge and what we know about the signs from observation. All right, so basically, let me break down what astrology is in the first place. So astrology is tracking 360 degrees, a circle, or a cycle tracking the 4 seasons. So it's the earth and the sun, and tracking the rotation and the distance between the two. Each season lasts for about 90 days, and 30 of these days were divided into each house of the zodiac. So this is where the talk or the zodiac comes from, the seasons, and breaking it up so we can know what part of the season we're in. It's the practice is based off of the 36 deacons, which was a method used to track the transitions of the suns back in ancient Egypt. So let me back up. So one of the Hermetic principles, as above, so below, is the older philosophy, which the name Hermetic is in correlation to the god Hermes, which is a Greek god from Greek mythology, and the stories of astrology are based off of Greek mythology. So this is why I bring up the Hermetic principles, because one of the major ones is the concept as above, so below. And it's also the name of a movie. This means what happens in the heavens or in the sky happens on earth. This is where astrology is comes from, or is based off of those that particular philosophy. Well, before you get deep into astrology and your bias against astrology, you want to actually take an observation and look at our life and how we correlate it to the seasons. Right now we're in spring. We have spring, summer, fall, winter. In the fall, you start to see all the nature, the trees decay. The night start to get more balanced as we see less daytime, start to see more nighttime. It's not as hot as else. It's not as hot as it is in the summer, so it's starting to get cooler. So the cooler it gets, we start to get more, or starting to be more in the inside, or in the house more. In winter, we're pretty much always in the house. We bundle up. In the springtime, which is now, it starts to get back warm again. We start to see more days, so we come out more. We're more you start to see all the plants bloom, grow, blossom. More birds, more animals start to come out. We changed the way we dress now. We take a lot more trips. Go out and about a little bit more. We may get sick, from the pollen. or a lot of other things. Our allergies may act up. You know, summer is really hot, so you won't, a lot of the times you won't see a person bundled up in the summer. Um, we get very active. Uh, a lot of times we tend to be around water a lot more, maybe the beach, drinking more water, uh, producing more water, we're sweating more. So this is just little examples of how the astrology, the seasons correlate to our lives and how they influence our lives. So before you say, you know, really think about it when you say, oh, whatever happens with the sun or the moon or the stars is not influencing us, when that's a clear example of how it's influencing our lives, because it's all happening through the transitions of the sun and the transitions of the earth, which the sun is not moving, the earth is. But the point is, those transitions that we're making are affecting our lives as far as, and we can see it in the sky. So that was the little breakdown I wanted to do. But I also wanted to address the four elements. So with the four elements, we have water, fire, earth, and air. Now, before you get into the televisions or the entertainment or the movie talk, which you see this concept a lot in movies and entertainment and music, the point is these teachings are each sign correlates to these elements, and they're metaphors or allegories for things that we do in our everyday life. So, you know, just a quick breakdown. You know, the fire is expression, visions, passion. The water is emotion, connection, intuition. The air is intellect, rhetoric, communication. And the earth is foundation, stability, structure, um, and being practical. So, all right, so we'll start off with the first sign, Aries. And Aries is the the beginning of the season spring, the spring equinox. It spans from March 20th to April 20th. Aries is a cardinal sign. Cardinal means most important. Um, now, uh, the reason it means that is because in astrology, the cardinal signs represent how we initiate things. So this they tend to be very important because how we structure our lives and how we participate, anything we accumulate or any experience we have, it had to be initiated first. So this is what makes the cardinal signs important, but all of them are important. uh None is more important than the other, but the cardinal signs are centered around very critical parts of our lives: our personality, our home and family, our relationships, and our business, our career. So back to Aries, it's a cardinal. There are three modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Aries is cardinal fires element. So um fire being passion, creativity, visions, expression. uh it makes it also a uh masculine sign. Aries being a masculine sign because it's expressive, it doesn't internalize. Not masculine as in male or female, but masculine as in it's more expressive than receptive to things. So Aries in your birth chart, if you have if you know your birth chart, your time and the day you were born and the location, You may have Aries in you're gonna have Aries in one of your houses, but Aries, the sign itself correlates to the first house. So you may not have Aries in the first house, but it correlates to the first house. And the first house is your personality, personal interests, personal goals, personal insecurities, personal affairs, things dealing with your personal life. The first house is also your rising sign. So whatever your rising sign is, they say your rising sign is your personality. So whatever your rising sign is, it is your first house. So it's kicking off your chart as far as your houses go. But this is an important house. It's an angular house. Angular houses are considered to be the most important houses, like the cardinal signs. And this is because, like I said, what they're focused on. And this house in particular is focused on your personality. So you can't really be you without your personality. So, and how you personally identify yourself with others. So this is the first house. And it's how we initiate. Now, Aries itself is an initiative sign. Being that it's cardinal, it likes to initiate visions, new ways to express yourself, new ways to feel about things, new ways to see things. So it's also getting into the planets, because I'm going to go straight into the planets. Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. Rule just means in astrology, the planets have a particular sign that they are more sufficient in. The energy is more sufficient. Each of the planets in astrology represent a sign, characteristics, to have certain characteristics that represent traits that we do in our personal life. Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. Mars in Greek mythology is the god of war, or it's Aries. Mars is represented by Aries in Greek mythology, which is the god of war. Mars represents a person's passion, willpower, drive, and ability to be direct with others, or just direct. And it's also how a person likes to have sex, because it's passion, drive, most planets in astrology have a masculine ruler or a feminine ruler. And for Aries, for Mars, Aries would be the masculine ruler. Mars has a feminine ruler, which is Scorpio also. Aries is the masculine ruler of Mars because, like I said, it's expressive. It's an expressive sign. So this is what makes it the masculine ruler. It likes to, when it comes to its passions, it doesn't like to internalize them. It likes to externalize them. It likes to display passion, be the passionate one, express their passions, show their passions. The sun is exalted in Aries. Exalted means raised or elevated. And then when you think about the sun in the time of spring, it starts to rise again. That's why we get more daylight, more sunny, more of the plants blooming because it's more sunlight. So the sun being exalted, the sun in astrology represents the ego and one's way of expression. So the ego may be exerted in Aries, making them come off as extra expressive or egotistical at times. It may also be a testament to the Aries' ability to draw attention naturally. Saturn falls in Aries. Now, Saturn represents our ability to structure our life and gain stability. When the planet falls, it appears to look weak in that sign. It appears to be void. no activity there, low activity, doesn't appear to be visible. So it may appear that Aries have a hard time structuring themselves or their life or being realistic. Saturn also pertains to the way that we see reality. So Aries might be so much of visionaries that they may have a hard time seeing things from a realistic point of view, or have a hard time dealing with limitations and boundaries and restrictions, because that's what Saturn deals with. So a lot of the times they have to find a new way or a different way that's unusual, but a way to structure their lives, unlike the other signs. And Venus is debilitated in Aries. Debilitated means weakened. This is being that Aries are so heavily invested into themselves and their passions. They have a hard time compromising at times, or a hard time relating to others. And that's basically what Venus energy is: compromise, relatability, and harmony. Aries is ruled by the head, the body part, and the opposite sign is Libra. I'll get into Libra later, but that is the sign that's 180 degrees away from Aries. My personal experience with Aries, they're very creative people. They are very driven, very passionate, very competitive, but very blunt and forward with you. So they may get too much into the energy of being competitive, but if you can overlook that or get past that or know how to relate to them, there's a lot more that meets the eye beyond them being so passionate and maybe at times being selfish. So Aries, if they're not into self-evaluation, then they may find themselves alone a lot or separated from people, not being able to relate. But they are very passionate people and people you want on your side, especially when it comes to attacking your goals or just getting another way to look at things. That can be very powerful, especially when you're looking at things in a limited way. So that's Aries. Oh yeah, and the constellation Aries, I meant to do that earlier. The constellation Aries, which is, when we talk about constellations, we're getting into astronomy. It's not necessarily astrology. So the constellation Aries is based off of the Greek myth of the Golden Fleece. It happens to be surrounded by neighboring constellations: Perseus, Cetus, Pisces, Pegasus, and Cepheus. This whole conglomerate of stars or constellations is what we consider to be Aries, not just the constellation itself. That's if we're talking in astrology terms. Or a lot of people in sidereal will say if you're born between March 20th or April 20th, you're not an Aries, you're a Pisces. But I'm in the Western Hemisphere, because I'm in the United States, and it's not based off of the constellations. It's based off of the seasons and where the sun is at. So that's like basically a way to get confused Or, you know, a lot of people try to debunk tropical astrology with sidereal or astronomy, but they're confusing the two. It's not actually talking about the constellation, it's talking about the space in the sky. So, uh, Cetus, Pisces, Pegasus, Cepheus, all those, that is the Aries. That in astrology terms, that would, if the sun is in that area, that would be the sun in Aries. So to clear that up. Now, the motto for Aries is I am. This is the first sign, the spring sign. So the I am comes from the consciousness, the conscious mind first coming into existence, being born, spring, birth, uh, growth and stuff. So this is where that motto comes from. And this is what the Aries energy represents, the I am. So this is when one comes into existence to find out and come and become aware of themselves. Who are you? Who I am. So that is Aries. Now let's go on to Taurus. Um, so Taurus is it's the middle of spring. Taurus is the middle of spring. It spans from April 20th to May 20th. Now, Taurus is fixed. Fixed means firmly set. So this is when we're firmly set into the springtime. This is what makes it a fixed sign. So things are stable. We're starting to see a lot of the plants that were starting to bloom in Aries season are actually blooming now, are actually growing. And this is what makes the fixed nature of Taurus season. Now Taurus is an earth sign, so it's fixed earth. Fixed earth being that it's practical and it maintains stability. It maintains structure. Remember, we're firmly set into spring, so we're firmly set into a position and seeing things a certain way. So this is the nature of all the fixed signs, but Taurus specifically is, you know, being fixated on resources, spring like things of beauty, things of comfortability, things of harmony, you know, nurturing. So these are traits of earth, or being earth-like. This is the virtue of the earth element, maintaining things, making sure things are structured and provided for and are nourishing. So this is what makes the Taurus fixed earth. Now, Taurus itself is in correlation to the second house in the birth chart. So if you whatever you have in your birth chart would be in your second house, that would be how you express your nurturing, your values, because Taurus represents the values. The second house represents the values. When you look at the motto for Taurus, the previous one was for Aries was I am. Taurus is I have. So with the motto of Taurus, you see that virtue be playing out through the values you have. what do you have to offer? What 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 do you have to offer? What do you have? This is what makes the Taurus or Earth sign, because they maintain these things, and to maintain anything, you have to value it. So it don't necessarily have to just be a person. You can value a person, a place, a thing, an idea, a talent, a gift. So this is the energy of the Taurus sign. Valuing, values, uh, keeping things practical and stable. Uh, your second house, whatever you have there, is how you value. If it's Aries, you may value your own things, your own passions. If it's Libra, it may be your relationships. Uh, if it's Pisces, it may be your dreams, your imaginations. You may value those the most of all your values. So this is letting you know how it correlates. Now, the Taurus is a feminine sign. Feminine being that it's more receptive. So Taurus like to observe the surroundings before they act and see what needs to be maintained, what needs to be valued. So this is what makes them feminine. They're not so quick to express if it doesn't have a purpose to it, if it doesn't make sense. So they're a feminine sign. Remember, it's not about male or female. Taurus is also ruled by the planet Venus in astrology. Venus is represented by the Greek goddess Aphrodite, and it represents our ability in astrology to relate and compromise, like I said once before. It's our overall ability to receive and give love. So, most planets have a masculine and feminine ruler. Taurus being feminine, it's the feminine ruler of Venus. So, Libra would be the masculine. Taurus, and to break down a little bit more of the feminine with the Venus, they're more receptive of values, other people's values. More they respond to things of love and compromise and relatability. So it's more of a response to them. It's less of an expression. It's more of a thing they observe, and that would be the Venus energy. Now the moon is exalted in Taurus. Exalted means raised or elevated. The moon represents our way of reacting and responding to things. It's the subconscious mind. The moon is more correlated to the emotional nature one carries. The moon is more correlated to the moon in Taurus. The moon could be extra responsive or extra relatable or extra reactive. That's what I meant to say. This may make a Taurus go out of their way to feel more comfortable or feel good, as well as make others feel comfortable or feel good. They may overreact in order to maintain practicality or fixed earth, to keep things stable, to keep things flourishing like the spring. Taurus may also get a lot of emotional support and receive help or understanding in times of need due to this alignment. Uranus falls in Taurus. Uranus in astrology represents one's ability to rebel from things and be seen as unique, whether good or bad. Now, the Taurus energy being fixed earth and dealing with values may find it hard adjusting to Uranus energy because it requires someone to go out on a limb and dare to be different. Taurus may be more concerned with stability and may find its energy to be reckless or unsettling. Now, Mars is debilitated in Taurus, meaning it's weakened because this is because Taurus energy is predicated off of values and showing love, which is Venus energy, through practical means. They find it selfish or competitive. They find selfish or competitive energy unusual, making it a challenge for them to deal with. Taurus rules the throat. Each zodiac sign is supposed to be correlated to body part from head to toe, so that would be the Taurus. And the throat, neck, vocal cords, and it is the opposite sign is Scorpio. So another thing is the astronomy of Taurus as far as the constellation goes. Taurus is home to the star Aldebaran, the Watcher of the East, or also known as Archangel Michael or Saint Michael. Also, Aldebaran means follower in Arabic. Taurus is surrounded by a group of neighboring constellations: Cetus, Cepheus, Cassiopeia, Andromeda, Perseus, and Aries. This group of stars is what astrologers consider to be Taurus, not the constellation itself. And my personal experience with Tauruses is they are very practical. They can be very stubborn, dude, and that's the trait of the fixed signs. Fixated on things to be a certain way, but they're very practical and very nurturing, very giving, willing to compromise, and reasonable. So they may find themselves not pushing themselves at times or settling for the face value of things like the money or the looks, or not actually going deep or having depth about things, which could be their downfall at times. But if a Taurus can take their practical and practicality and blend it with intuitive things and being open-minded, then they're good to go. All right, now we're on to Gemini. The gems, the twins, those people. All right, so Gemini is the last phase of spring that spans from May 21st to June 21st. Gemini, being the first mutable sign, are the twins. They deal with duality. And remember, there are three modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. So we just went through all three now. So it just keeps resetting. It's no more modalities. But mutable means liable to change. And besides like the two-faced stuff and all this stuff, the thing is with the Gemini and any other mutable sign is they teeter between seasons. The last of spring, but the beginning of summer. So this is where the mutable things is. When you're in that phase, you may find remnants of summer, but it may also be like it's still spring, where it's not so hot, more warm, but you have days where it starts to get really hot and more in resemblance to summer. So it's just teetering between the seasons, and you know that change has to happen eventually. So it's liable. That's where the liable to change comes from. Um, Gemini is mutable air. So air is communication, uh, intellect and things like that. It being mutable air, this is air that likes to adapt, um, likes to adjust. The mutable signs are more like they're liable to change. So they like to change. They welcome change. They welcome adapting to things. They're not fixed. They're not stuck on one way of going about things. And they're not cardinal, where they're always just trying to start something. They're just going with the flow, adjusting. So that's the mutable things. And since it's air, this is Geminis do this with thoughts, with conversations, ideas, air-like things, things that deal with the mind, not so much the emotions or water, not so much that deals with material or money or stability like earth, or expression and creativity like fire. So the Gemini correlates to the third house in the birth chart. You know your birth chart. This is the third house is the close surroundings, the environment you're in, your way of communication, your siblings, all these things. Now, when you take your third, whatever sign you have in your third house is how you respond to your third house. But when you actually look at that, if you go outside, you see your neighbors, you go to school, you go to down the street to the store. All these things deal with third house, Gemini uh, type things, because it's Gemini also is ruled by Mercury. Not to get off the last point, but um, it deals with short term travel, Mercury, and intellect. So with short term travel, you could either just travel somewhere in the mind where you come up with solutions quick, ideas quick. That would be a form of short term travel, or it could be physical travel where you go to the store, go up the street. So this is all things that fit into the third house, and it affects your communication. Your environment, that whatever you're around all the time, affects how you grow up and how you communicate with people. Your intellect, how you think about things, how you see things. Your siblings, you how you they also play a part in this. Um, they're who you share ideas with a lot of the times, and your neighbors also. So this is all third house things. And what am I gonna say? So this is what the third house basically represents. But Gemini, back to the sign of Gemini itself, is a masculine sign because it's expressive. Every Most planets in astrology have a masculine and feminine ruler. Gemini would be the ruler of Mercury, and it would be the masculine because it's expressive of the thoughts, quick to analyze and externalize things. So it's not like the feminine ruler of Mercury, which is Virgo, who's more analyzing and observative before they communicate and act on things. So Gemini is kind of like Aries, can be impulsive, and uh, you think of the examples of Gemini because I feel like the Gemini celebrities demonstrate these characteristics a lot. Is Kanye West, Donald Trump, um, even like people like Tupac, who people still talk about nowadays. So it's like the Gemini always puts you in a space of many different thoughts and stuff like that. And Mercury in astrology is represented by the Greek god Hermes, the messenger god, like I spoke of earlier. And, Hermes was a messenger guy because he was always delivering information and to other guys or other people. But when you think about that, how that correlates to us in the mind, when the brain sends nerve uh, in, information through the nervous system for you to react or move a certain way. So, which is also the body part that the Geminis correlate to: the nervous system, the shoulders, the hands, uh, and the lungs and stuff. So, this is Gemini, or the third house, um, so to speak. And this is what it rules. And Gemini it rules Mercury, and Mercury also is just, our communication, our sense of logic and rationality, and our overall thought process. Jupiter is debilitated in Gemini. So it's weakened, and that's because it represents our philosophical natures and will to experience in order to broaden our views. Gemini tend to be more focused on the details of things, often missing the broader view or outlook on their circumstances. This can make them more complacent at times or unwilling to take a more intuitive approach to things. So that is the Gemini, and the constellation Gemini itself, where you at, is in astronomy. The constellation Gemini, because I have to clarify, it's astronomy, it's not astrology. Is surrounded by the constellations Auriga, Orion, Cancer, Cepheus, Perseus, Eridanus, and those are the neighboring constellations of the constellation Gemini. Now, this group of stars is what we consider to be the third house, or considered to be Gemini, in astrology. So it's not just referring to the constellation Gemini itself. It's referring to all of those constellations in that little area in the sky. So the motto for Gemini is I think. And we have I am in Taurus, and we have I am in Aries, I have in Taurus, and now we have I think. So you're taking you discovering yourself in the Aries, the I am, and then you're finding out what you have to offer, the things you have in your possession, the Taurus, the I have. Now you're sharing your ideas about these things. What do you think about it? What do others think about it? So this is the Gemini. And, my personal experience with Geminis is my lover is a Gemini, and they're great to just, share experiences with. And, great for, conversation comes easy to them. But usually, at least. But it is very fun to share experiences with Gemini, because they tend to be multitaskers, or just know how to do a lot of things. A lot of astrologers consider Gemini to be the jack of all trades, and yeah, they can be those things, when they're willing to actually get up and go do things, and go try things. So they're good, as far as keeping activity going, to be around. I wouldn't go to them for too much emotional depth, or yeah, I wouldn't go to them for that, or necessarily too much trying to be practical. I wouldn't go to a Gemini for that either. You know what I'm saying? They can be, but if you want it's more about just sharing ideas. They could give you a lot of good ideas, and kind of similar to the Aries, they can give you ways to see things, new ways to see things. But other than that, Geminis are great. They they're mutable air, so they know how to be like you and know how to adapt to you. So whatever you're giving them, they will give it back. So, I think a lot of astrologers say that, but a lot of people still don't heed that warning. But that is true. Whatever you're giving them, they will give you that. So, just keep that in mind with a Gemini. And it won't feel like you're always clashing with them. Because you're probably always clashing with yourself. Little do you know. But that's it for them. And now we're going on to the next sign, which is Cancer. And Cancer is the start of summer, the summer solstice. It spans from June 22nd to July 22nd. Most days of the year, or the longest day of the year is, when July 22nd is, or something like that. Cancer is the cardinal water. So water, emotionally connecting. Now, when you think about summer, even though, Cancer, a lot has to deal with the home. When you think about the summertime, we're out and about, a lot of us are trying to emotionally connect, there is water, like how I brought up the water. We drink more water, we go to beaches, go more around water, we sweat a lot more. So it's a whole bunch of water being established around the summertime. But this is just the natural element of the Cancer. They like to emotionally connect. And a lot of times, this is what we're doing. We get more active. We go out. A lot of times, we are trying to emotionally connect. We're trying to experience things. This is the driving reason that a lot of us even go out into the world, So, Cancers embody this trait very well, and then they're cardinals, so they initiate. So they like to initiate a family atmosphere or initiate some kind of connection with a person, that is where a person can be open, free, and vulnerable. The house correlating to Cancer would be the fourth house in astrology in your birth chart. So whatever sign you have there is how you participate in the home or with family. House Cancer is basically a personification of what the fourth house is, but it's just basically they're establishing connections, privacy, family, home. A lot of the time, that's what home is for. This is where we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, allow ourselves to share and get comfortable. This is the nature of the Cancer. Cancer is a feminine sign, so it's a receptive. They're more receptive to other people's emotions and feelings, which is what makes them nurturers and things like that. Remember, they're more predicated on establishing a family atmosphere, an atmosphere where people can emotionally connect with each other. So, and water is naturally a feminine element anyway, because it's the emotions. So it's what we internalize anyway. Now Cancer rules the moon. Now, most planets in astrology have a masculine and feminine ruler, but Cancer is the only ruler for the moon in astrology. And the moon energy is most sufficient in Cancer. It represents our emotions, how we react, and how we respond. It's our subconscious mind and its tendencies. This is what makes Cancers such motherly or nurturing people, despite male or female. They love to emotionally connect. So the moon likes this, the nature of the Cancer. Um, Cancer, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Jupiter represents one's wisdom. Jupiter represents one's wisdom, philosophical views, and our will to experience in order to broaden our views. Exalted means raised or elevated. So Jupiter also pertains to abundance or expansion. This is due to because, when we experience, we expand our knowledge or our wisdom. Um, and, a lot of the times when you experience things, you experience them in abundance. Not all the time, but you go out into the world, you go to the mall, you go to the store, it's usually an abundance of people. Um, so Jupiter, and wherever you have Jupiter in your chart, will show you where you do that energy the most at. The reason this planetary energy is exalted in Cancer is because family tends to be where we experience abundance or energy abundance of energy via mother, father, siblings, spouse, children, etc. We also learn a lot throughout our family, and their decisions and their mistakes and their actions. Cancers tend to gain a lot of support in good positions in life based off of the way of knowing how to establish an emotional connection with whoever they meet. And Jupiter is also, they say Jupiter is the planet of prosperity. So this would be a good example of prospering. Um, Mars falls in Cancer, so Mars, represents one's passion, willpower, drive, ability to be direct. This energy is weakened in the state of Cancer, with them being naturally caring and nurturing. It makes using the Mars energy a challenge for them. Uh, so Mars appears to be void in Cancer. You know, you might find Cancer being very comfortable at home before they go out and do anything that has to do with passionately connecting or just chasing their passions. And they're so used to being in the nurturing position or being vulnerable with others. They don't like to establish connections based off of competition and Mars and hate and passion and all that stuff. So that is the Mars. And then Saturn is debilitated in Cancer because it deals with limitations, restrictions, boundaries, and Cancer, being an emotional sign, finds it difficult to confine the emotions, and it's a lot of times we have to do that, especially being out in the world. So that's the planets for Cancer, and then the astronomy for Cancer would be the constellation in astronomy for Cancer is based off of the story of Hercules when he had to fight the giant crab during the 12 labors. And the constellation is surrounded by constellations Hydra, Canis Major, Gemini, Leo, and Canis Minor. So this particular group of stars is what astrologers is referring to as Cancer, not just the constellation itself. Cancer is they rule the breast area, a lot of the heart, the that is usually that's the heart chakra also correlates to the moon because that's their planet, the moon. So it makes them vulnerable people, connective people. And the motto for Cancer is I feel. So this is establishing feelings now. You know, we have the I am, then we have what do you have in Taurus, and then we have the what do you think about that, what do others think in Gemini. Now we have the I feel. Now, how do you feel about these things? How does that make you feel? This is the Cancer. So motto is I feel. And my personal experience with Cancers is, you know, I got a lot of family that's Cancers. They're very, it's fun to emotionally connect with them. They're very loyal and supportive, understanding. They like to hear you out. And yeah, they're cool. They're just very moody, being an emotional sign, and liking to initiate. They're cardinals, so they may even initiate bad vibes sometimes. You know what I'm saying? That's the trait of the cardinal signs. But you know, when they're not being in their mood or in their feelings about something that nobody else knows because they're not expressing it, uh, which is also the trait of a feminine sign. You know, they're very easy to deal with and very fun to be around. Uh, they have to learn how to break out of that shell, that crab shell, and not be a crab all the time and actually go out and experience though. I've seen cancers like to experience, but I also see a lot of them like their hand to be held and stuff, and that can hold them back as far as manifesting things, you know? So that's Cancer though. On to the next. Now we're on to the Lion, the Leo. Leo is the middle of the summer, July 23rd to August 22nd. And people born in the time of Leo can be very charismatic. They can also be very prone to main character syndrome. So it's the Leos, and they're interesting. Leo is fixed sign, fixed fire. So they're fixed, firmly set into the summertime. More firmly set into the summertime. So been established, it's been hot, you know what I'm saying? We're making our summer plans, summer moves. And you know, I guess that also adds on to the fact that they're fire, so they're fixed fire. So, you know, summertime is hot anyway, but their representation of, you know, fire, expression, creativity, visions and stuff. So you know, they're fixated, the Leo is fixated on creativity, fixated on a certain way of expression, a certain way to envision things. Maybe stubborn in these things at times, but they're fixated, and they also, the Leo correlates to the fifth house. This is the house of expression, fun, recreation. So while Leos, a lot of times, they may be looked at as like they don't take things serious sometimes, or they're always having fun, or you know, or they're always trying to be on the stage or be seen or get attention, you know. So this is and that's also like the traits of the sun. Leo is ruled by the sun, or Leo rules the sun, the so they play out the characteristics of always getting attention and stuff like that, and always expressing themselves in a way to get attention. Leos can be very talented though when they harness this energy though. I've seen a lot of very talented Leos. So that is something about them. They also they're a masculine sign, the fire, they're expressive. So that speaks for itself. Leo, the sun being ruled by Leo, it's not it doesn't have two rulers like the other planets. So the sun is just Leo. So Leo's got the sun pretty much locked down Leos gravitate a lot of attention based on, the sun and, playing out that energy. But it also makes them very charismatic. Now, Saturn is debilitated in Leo because Leo, Saturn represents restrictions and limitations and discipline and structure in astrology. And Leos are more concerned with being able to express themselves how they see fit. They may find it challenging to have to deal with anything that limits or confines that, similar kind of to Cancer. Um, Uranus is, our uniqueness and the ability to stand out and rebel against things. It also represents our ability to change with the times. Now, Uranus is debilitated in Leo due to Leo liking to fixate themselves, on their passions and have a hard time of letting go when these things are outdated. Could be a person, place, or thing. But if they're not willing to let go of it, then, you may see a Leo at their worst. Now, I didn't really say much on the fifth house. So the fifth house in your birth chart is correlated to Leo. Leo is, the fifth house is, fun, how you express yourself, how you, so it can deal with romance, just recreational things you do for fun. You might, your hobbies, places you go, amusement parks, little places you go every now and then, every couple on the weekend or something. Dates and stuff. Deals with romance too. It also deals with fertility and children, how you relate to children, how you act with children is also the fifth house. But it's mainly just your expression, your expressive self. So that is the fifth house in a nutshell. Leo rules the navel, where the solar plexus is, the spine and stuff. So these are very upright, very righteous people. Leo's people wear their hearts on their sleeve, for sure. So this is the Leo, very upright people, and the constellation of Leo itself in astronomy is one of the biggest constellations in the sky. It's home to the star Alpha Leonis or Regulus, also known as the Watcher of the North, or Archangel Raphael. And Catholicism is based off of the Greek story of the Lion of Nemea, a beast that Hercules fought through the story of the 12 labors, like the one with Cancer. And this constellation is surrounded by neighboring constellations: Cancer, Hydra, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, Sextans, Leo Minor, and Virgo. This particular group of stars in the space they occupy is what astrologers are calling Leo, not the constellation itself. My personal experience with Leos is I know a lot of Leos. One of my closest friends is a Leo. I stay with a Leo moon. Leos. Leos are cool. Like I said, they wear their heart on their sleeves. They're very courageous at times. They're very expressive, very righteous, very happy, fun to be around. They love fun. That's their energy. That's the fifth house. So, yeah, they're a joy. They're like those Leos are those people that you would call the life of the party. You know what I'm saying? They pride themselves on being that. Almost to the point where it gets annoying sometimes, because like when when you don't see them that way, it's like they get offended and stuff. So they have this thing where they could be very like attention seeking, self centered, or they always want props or credit, or they always want to be seen in a certain way. And it's very egotistical, and it's funny because the sun in astrology represents the ego, and that's what Leo rules. So they may go too far in that energy sometimes and just want everything to be about them, you know. So they they can play out the traits of a narcissist, but and that would be the bad part of the Leo, you know, not ever being accountable, not ever being self-evaluated, not ever seeing themselves as wrong, you know, never checking their ego. So that would be the negative traits of the Leo. Or if their ego does get checked, they just lash out. But I don't want to say too much bad stuff. It's just they're really fun to be around. They're really talented, and when they actually, and a lot of times Leos go for their talents and their passions, and you know that's what makes a Leo shine like the sun. So they are a joy to be around. I just, if you're going through something, um, maybe you're trying to be more serious right now or something like that, maybe you don't want to be around a Leo. But that's that. Now let's see if I can do Virgo real quick without missing everything. Is the last phase of summertime. It spans from August 23rd to September 22nd. It's a mutable sign, so that means liable to change. It adapts. It's coming from the end of summer all the way to fall, so it's bouncing in between those things. You're starting to see little decay, little leaves fall, but it's still maybe hot at times, like it's summer. So you got that liable to change. It's adapting, mutable, and it's mutable earth. It's earth element, so they're very practical. Virgo is harvest season. Virgo is represented by the Virgin Mary. You know what I'm saying? This is nurturing, taking care of, raising something. So, once you did all that, you prepare, you take all your harvests, all your crops, and you take them before they all die. And, you prepare for the fall that's coming. You know what I'm saying? So this is the Virgo energy. Virgos in your life, they're probably very worried people, very worryful people, even if it's in a good way. They might, it might be some very optimistic Virgos that don't really necessarily worry you as much, but they're worrying somewhere in their life. You know what I'm saying? Even it's the little things with the Virgos. They're always like, well, maybe we should do this, or maybe that's wrong. So that's their thing. That's their energy. That's what they attract. But it's all about harvest season, preparing for the fall. Some shit's about to go down. So you want to be ready for it. That's their energy. They're walking versions of that. Virgo, so yeah, that's what makes them an earth sign. They're practical. You picking up you're harvesting your crops, harvesting your materials, preparing. They're practical people, structured people, usually. You know what I'm saying? Everybody sometimes don't act like they sign. Sometimes they might act like the opposite sign. And that was the thing about, and Leo too. Leo's opposite sign is Aquarius. I skipped that, and I skipped it for the last 3 signs. I think Cancer is Capricorn, and Gemini is Sag. So this is like Virgo energy right here. But to keep going and stuff, so to keep this shit up, so with the Virgo energy, it's mutable earth. They're adapting to ways of being practical, figuring out a new way to make sense, a new way to get to point A to point B, a new way to get some more money, a new way to structure their lives. They're adapting. And other people, they also adapt to other people's ways of how they adjust and be practical, so that their way of being practical doesn't clash with someone else's way of being practical. A Virgo will adapt and adjust. So that's the the Virgo energy. And then it is, so that's mutable earth. And then we got the houses. Sixth house correlates to the sixth house, the house of routines, patterns. Virgos are all very about structure and pattern and doing things on time and getting it done. Perfectionists. So they had to do it or it's going to fuck up. That's the sixth house. Routines, patterns, and maintaining things. Things that you do. What do? You know, take showers, you clean, brush your teeth, do your hair, you know what I'm saying? All these things, go to work. All these is Virgo energy, maintaining shit, keeping routines, keeping shit up so it don't fall apart. That's the sixth house. And then we got the planets of Virgo. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Like I said, Virgo is every planet, most planets have feminine, masculine rulers. Virgo is the feminine ruler of Mercury. So they observe things. They observe the details and what needs to be changed and adjusted. They monitor before they respond. They don't just express if it don't make sense. They gotta find something that makes sense. That's what earth signs do. So they peep the scene, they observe, and then they pick up the little details of things and then adjust them, act on those things. And sometimes they may be so stuck in the details that they worry too much, but this is what the Virgo's nature is. So that the feminine sign, it's a feminine sign, feminine, not male and female, feminine as receptive, observative. They don't express, they internalize first. Planet Mercury is communications, analyzing, intellect. So that's the energy they use to do these things. They analyze, they see where their numbers are off, they see where what makes the most sense, what saves the most trouble for them. You know what I'm saying? They're all about analyzing what people say, body language. This is the Virgo. They just analyze. So and it's only because it's due to past things not working or being calculated before. So they have to adjust themselves. Mutable. So they're also Jupiter is debilitated in Virgo. Is weakened because, you know, our morality and our philosophical views, as well as our will to experience in order to broaden our views on life. Jupiter energy doesn't flourish well in Virgo because they are more tactical and unwilling to experience if their experience doesn't seem structured or completely planned out. Virgos are also more concerned with details of things and don't like to base their decisions solely off of morality. So Jupiter energy doesn't flourish in Virgo or help them much. Venus falls in Virgo. You know, Venus represents one's ability to relate and compromise and show love. Venus falls, so it feels void in Virgo because Virgo energy is such a perfectionist energy, and its way of compromise can be harsh and too nitpicky. Virgos are so concerned with the imperfections of love, they leave little room for love itself sometimes. That's the planets. And then they're also, you know, when it comes to love, even Jupiter, the Jupiter energy and the Venus energy, a lot of these things take faith and willing to compromise. But if a Virgo feel like it fucks up their system, their structure, they won't do it. They won't compromise. And they're not going to take faith if faith doesn't bring them the right numbers or looks like the right kind of calculations, you know? So they're all about structure and perfections, but that can also be their downfall and limit their experiences, Jupiter, and also make it hard for them to just be in and relate and be more harmonious. Venus, more compromising, you know what I'm saying? Because they're too worried about the details of things, and they may also only look at the details of things. So when it comes down to just wanting to be vulnerable with somebody and know them and connect with them in other kind of way, they put little energy into those things and only the face value. So when shit starts to hit the fan, they don't know how to adjust because they were only looking at the details and the material stuff, the earth shit. All right, so now we're on that. Virgo is Damn, I don't think I said the one for Leo. Leo is I express. So Virgo is I analyze. So we took how we felt about things in Cancer, and now we're expressing ourselves with Leo. But now we're taking that from Virgo, and now we're doing a little more self evaluation. So I analyze what did I notice about the way I express myself or the way that person expressed themselves. What am I picking up on that? You know what I'm saying? So this is nitpicking, learning, but it's making us more calculated so we know how to go about shit. So yes, I analyze, and Leo is I express. Uh Now the Virgo constellation is the second constellation in the sky. It is, yeah, it's the second largest constellation in the sky, and it is um in Greek mythology they refer to the constellation as Dike, the winged goddess. It's also known as the Virgin, like I said before, the Virgin Mary. The constellation is neighbored by Leo, Coma Berenices, Corvus, Crater, Boots, Libra. And this particular group of stars in astrology is what Virgo is. But these are all astronomy constellations and stuff. But the particular group itself is Virgo. So that is Virgo in a nutshell. And I want to cap it off with my personal experience with Virgos. I know a lot of Virgos in my life. Some of the best people to be around because they always just to people, and they like to hear people out. They can be open-minded at times, but they can also be very nitpicky and very caught up in the details of things. So what makes them a joy to be around can also be what makes them not a joy to be around. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's the negatives of Virgo. And when they're too much into the details and nitpicking, they might not ever actually embrace their creative gifts. And this what makes them a dry person, or a person who only has material things to offer, but they have no depth. And that could find them in a situation where they don't really know how to deal with their emotions, you know, because they're so involved with the material world that they never actually took a chance to get to connect with themselves emotionally. So it helps for Virgos to be more creative, be like their opposite sign, Pisces, and be more creative, expansive, dream, faithful, have some kind of spiritual system. Be open-minded to things. Not everything has to be calculated or material based. But if they could get to that level of thinking, you know, they'll be fine. But yeah, it's always just being too much into the details of things that a Virgo will feel like the reason why something fucked up or the reason why they're not succeeding in something is because of that. And they don't realize it might be a bunch of other shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they refuse to see other than it might just might have been a coincidence, or it might have just actually been some shit that somebody was born into or something. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be other things, but they only think it's because, oh, it's because that person doesn't have enough money, or it's because that person knows this person, or it's because this person has this job or something. You know what I'm saying? And they'll look at life like that, like they know everything, but that's not the case. So that would be the downfall. But beyond that, they're great people to be around, especially when you're trying to build something or maintain something. A Virgo got you with that. They'll show you how to keep it going as far as the structure and the routine. So, and that is what the sixth house is. Whatever planet you or sign you have in your sixth house is how you play this out. Aries. So when it comes to your routines, your routines have to deal with passion, yourself. If it's Capricorn, your routines have to deal with your status and your career. Pisces, your routine has to deal with your dreams, your imagination. So this is how you would get a feel for the houses and stuff. And that is pretty much Virgo in a nutshell. And yeah, this is the, yep.